Are much appreciated agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, June 26th, 2025, and this is All the Leads Mastermind Podcast number 534. We don't have any assigned topic this week, but as always, guys, this is your call. So please, if you haven't done so, make sure you acknowledge that the call is being recorded, or it won't let you raise your hand. And then after you do that, if you would like to actively participate, there's no bad questions. Tim said unmute him. Connor, please. I guess he's here. But there's no bad questions. We always are looking for a win of the week. We reward that with a discount on your next set of leads. And we kind of let you choose the topic. You know, about once a month, we'll have an assigned topic. But today, it is an open forum. And there is Tim trying to find his face into the frame. Oh, there he is. All right. So, Tim, I did an extra long introduction waiting for you. What do you got to say for yourself? Tim is muted, Connor. Could you unmute him, please?
Just asked him to unmute.
Tim, you should know that. Tim, you should be able to. You should be able to unmute yourself, Timo.
Yeah, I finally got it unmuted. All
right. That's our tech genius. So, but we appreciate you. I had a feeling you're probably coming from another call. Right now he's sticking off the screen. Tim, the floor is yours if you would like to take it. Anything you would like to open with?
I think I'd like to leave it on the floor. I've got a lot of issues today. Zoom decided that it wanted me to use a different approach to log in today for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't have anything on my agenda today either. It's the end of the month of June. It's been an interesting month. Most of us are probably hotter than we'd like to be right now. Those of you who are having incredibly hot temperatures and your air conditioners aren't working, we feel your pain. I know that that's happened to a lot of people that I've been talking to. So, it's a tough time out there. It's the weather kind of went crazy on us here. Anyway, don't have anything particular. Know that, as Jim said, this call is for you. We'd like to hear from you and talk about the things that you would like to talk about. That's what's important about the calls, and we're looking forward to doing that today. To do that, please look at the bottom of your screen, and you'll see that there is a heart. And if you click on the heart, you'll see something there that says to raise your hand. That's how we know you'd like to talk with us, and we'd like to hear your good news, your tough times, anything that's going on in your world. And with that, I will throw it open to the public.
And Bill, I saw you raise your hand. Did you want to start with something?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a really quick story. So I just listed another ranch that's a probate. And I had two coaching calls, and one was probate, one was divorce yesterday, and they were great calls. The thing that I think that we forget is that probate is a long-term thing. I mean, yes, we want to get them in the first year, the 90 days. In California, you really want to get them in the first 60 if you can. But I've consistently gotten deals that I've hung in there that are probate or trust sales. And I just think that we as realtors and a community need to realize this is a long-term commitment. I have not gotten probates, but I've sold their kids' homes, right? But more than that, I think you really need to set yourself up a system. Like, I send out holiday cards to them all. I set them up on market analysis for all their homes. I send them evaluations. I call them. This is a long-term commitment deal. So when you get a probate in, I'm trying to make the point, is it is just not that one call. It is just not that one deal. I think Bruce would echo what I'm saying, that this is a long-term commitment. These leads are really good. They're long-term. And just because they didn't sell it in the first 9 months or 12 months or 18 months doesn't mean they're not going to sell it. And then what's great about California is when they decide to be a landlord, California eventually convinces them not to be a landlord, right? So they're going to sell eventually. So, and I just think that we need to bring that up a little more in our marketing and our coaching. Definitely my coaching. I definitely need to bring that up more.
Yeah, I see Bruce shaking his head, and it reminds me of our long-term client Travis, who we had on a few months ago, who got 7 or 8 counties for 6 years now, and he only takes the multi-million-dollar deals. He doesn't even, he refers out the cheaper ones, and he has gotten to the point where he's doing 3 or 4 of them a month. And when we ask him, I asked him one question that really stuck with me. I said, "What's your average conversion time?" And he said about 8 months, which I mean, that's important. And he talked about how many times they say, "I'm not interested, I'm not going to do anything, I'm not," and he just keeps going, and eventually they convert. Now, I don't want to discourage anybody new. You will get some come get me listings, but it's probably the exception rather than the rule. You will have people in, houses in bad shape. By the time dad died, he was a year behind in the mortgage. We got to put mom in the nursing home. You'll get those, but don't expect those. Treat those like a bonus. Expect it's going to take 6 to 9 months, and hang in there. And I don't think there's any lead source that'll pay off as well consistently if you have that attitude, Bill. So I think it's a great place to start. I don't think we can remind everybody too many times.
I agree. The only one thing I would say, and this is with the grain of salt, you said it yourself, but I always kind of cringe when we say it can take that long, and then invariably we'll hear from someone who said, "I sent my letters out and got 2 appointments, and it was the first time I did it, and how excited they were." And I think the issue here is you've got to put yourself in a position to have good luck. And what I mean by that is that there's no rule here. Certainly, probate does have a process that has to be dealt with and gone through. That's why it's there. It's not instantaneous, but there are circumstances in which the need is immediate, and you got to be ready for all of it. That's why it needs to be a pillar of your business, and you need to approach it with a system approach that says you're going to do the mail, you're going to get it out, you're going to have a system set up to make the phone calls that you need to do, and the other ways to reach out and do it. And the more you're at the right place, the right time, the better off you're going to be. But it doesn't mean, as Jim said, you won't get quick results, because it happens every week. People get quick results. You just got to be there for all of it. I think what we're trying to say is, don't expect them, be delighted when they happen, but they definitely can happen, and you got to be at the right place at the right time. You go with that? You buy that? All right.
Yeah, I like to tell people, you are in a business, and business is not for the luck. We don't run business to get lucky. We run business and we build our business to be predictable. That's what we're doing. And there's certain ratios depending on your skill. So for every 10 people I talk to, have a dialogue with, I'm probably going to get a deal. It may be 8 months from now. It might be 8 hours from now. But for every 10 people I talk to, I may get a deal. Somebody else, their skill might be a little bit different. Maybe for every 8 people they talk to, they get a deal. Or maybe for every 25 people that they talk to, they get a deal. What you're doing is you're building the predictability. And it's not predictable that you're going to talk to 10 people and get a deal today. That's not predictable. That is certainly doable. It certainly happens when you're in the business for long enough. When you're doing this for long enough, it might happen on day 1. You might not get a deal that quick for 3 months. But it is going to happen when you build consistency and predictability into your business. But the bottom line is, you have that many initial conversations, it's going to lead to a deal if your skill is high enough. So that's what you're doing. And I can tell most of you guys that it's 6 months to get your business to a place where it's going to be predictable, where it's going to kick out the production that you're hoping it's going to kick out. And before that 6 months is up, you're going to get a onesie twosie here and there. But in 6 months, if you're consistent and you consistently add to your skill level and you continue to grow your pipeline, 6 months from now is when you're going to have a predictable output from your pipeline. And that might be, depending on what you've put into it and depending on your skill, that might be every single month from now on, I know that I'm going to average 3 deals a month. That might be every month from now on, I know I'm going to average 10. I'm going to average 1. That's what I want you guys to get to. And I think it takes 6 months to get to the point where it's kicking out a predictable number of transactions for you.
Perfect. Never seen so many hands up. Tim, I don't know if you're still there, but Michelle had her hand, Melinda had her hand up first. So we'll start with Melinda. Melinda, can we unmute you, or can you unmute yourself, please?
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Oh, good. Yes, ma'am.
So I just started with
Progress.
and like echoey.
Yeah. Tim, I think that's you. Tim's having problems signing in. Okay, go ahead, Melinda, please.
All right. So I just started with all the leads. I've done it. I've gotten 2 months. I'm in Connecticut. And so I've been going through, well, I have a few questions. One is, I know the script that you use to call someone, it's kind of like do it, it has to be your own voice. And I've kind of done my script where it's, I'm not selling you some, because people first thing want to do is hang up on you, and just kind of going out really quick and easy. And then they let me know, if they got everything taken care of, where a lot of them have attorney, is their first thing. I just started the marketing, and so I have it set up for 3 pieces, going out like once a month or every couple weeks. And what on average do people kind of see any kind of reply, and in the sense of, stop sending me stuff or a call or email? Does anybody is it like, hey, it does take 6 months, keep going, which is fine. I can set that all up in the system. And trying to think what my other question was, now that I'm sitting here. I can't remember my other question. I am using the Property Plus to find out, if they have a property. And then I have found like some people, well, they probably knew the family member was going to die. And then I see that it got listed like just a month, or 2 after that happened. So those are the ones I figured they kind of already knew and connected with someone. I did have someone I know in my area, they're using a probate attorney that's further away, and because they have a preferred real estate agent, they recommended that person and they used that person, and the person's from like over an hour away. And so on the contacting attorneys, my other thing was to try to just contacting ones even further away, just because they may have people in my area. Rather, I'm not going to be your only preferred agent. I don't know if people are doing that, like, reach out and just say, hey, you might have 5 agents, but we're all in different areas. Is that something that other agents are doing?
So I missed the last part. Melinda, I'll ask you to clarify that for me in a second, but I want to speak to what you can kind of expect. Number one is every market's going to react differently. I spend a lot of my time calling and emailing agents, and ironically, Connecticut has a lower response rate from agents than some other states. But consumers are going to react differently. So what may be in Virginia Beach, where you send 3 letters to 100 people, so that's 100 people, 300 total letters over 3 months. You can kind of count on 5 or 6 different positive responses. Connecticut, it might be a little bit different. If I'm doing mail, I want my whole campaign to last 6 months. That's kind of the bottom line. If you're budget conscious, 3 months is kind of the minimum. So if you're budget conscious, I normally don't like to just do a single mailer because people aren't making. I'm relying on luck to land a letter in their box at the exact time that they're thinking about their urgent real estate need. So it's definitely luck if it's just a month. I want to be with them through the span of their process, and that's going to be at least 6 months for the average person. So let's go back to a group of 100 leads, and let's pretend that you're putting 6 marketing or mail pieces in front of them over that 6 months. I would anticipate with that you're going to get 5 or 6 semi favorable responses. You'll have more than that. There may be another 5 or 6 that are, hey, we already sold, we're not selling, we're keeping the house, we don't have a house. And I know you have Property Plus, so theoretically you'll weed out the we don't have a house people. But 5 or 6 people should, over that period of time, say, yes, we have a house, we don't know what we're going to do, we're going to sell. I prefer to tell people at the bottom of my letter, if now is not the right time, please save this letter. Like I'll get actually really specific on the letter and what I'm telling them to do. If now is not the right time, if you're not thinking about doing anything with the house right now, put a red rubber band around this and put it in your junk drawer. Call me later. It's now obviously my first call to action is call me now, but some people they're not ready. Sometimes I'll say go visit this website to learn more. So I think everyone should have some kind of a probate or an estate administration website to send people to. Your goal is just move them to the next step or a next step with your mailers. And that next step might be saving your letter. It might be visiting a website. It might be calling you. That's your goal. But I want you to ideally try to get 5 or 6 semi-warm conversations out of every 100 leads with your mail campaign. In some of your markets, that's going to take 2 letter touches. In some of your markets, that's going to take 6. Phone conversations. Melinda, you started by saying that people were telling you, I have an attorney, I have it all handled. I don't know if you've been through my training or not. Is that because they're objecting, or are you actually offering that as something that they can tell you? So when they give that to you, are they saying that because you've been through my training? Or are they just giving you that objection to get you off of the phone?
I
Yeah.
don't know if can you still hear me?
Yes.
So like a couple people I've talked to, they have an attorney or their house, like one guy today, the house is on the market. And I haven't been able to reach many on the phone. And so that's where I've gone through and checking the do not call list, and a lot of people are on that, or some of the numbers that I'm receiving are not accurate. So I've been kind of double checking and moving them down the list so I'm not using a bad number. But when they say that, I then reply, if they have a house, is kind of something, I think it was in one of your classes where it's like, okay, like the attorney doesn't handle everything. That's not what I say to them, but and that's what I think the misconception is. They'll make the comment, I have an attorney, thinking, and so I'm not sure if they're just trying to get me off the phone or they think that's all they need.
So I want to feed them. If I'm getting 1 or 2 objections really heavily, I either want to completely avoid any possibility of them giving me that objection by asking a question that takes them away from the objection. So let's pretend that everyone's telling me I have an attorney, I've got an attorney that's doing everything for me, and let's pretend I want to avoid that. So my question after I give my short presentation, my short pitch, we're talking a couple of sentences. I help with almost everything in the probate process, but I don't want to bore you with a million details. Can I ask you, and this is where I'm going to take them away from the attorney objection. Can I ask you, did you guys just get started with the process, or have you been in the middle of it for a little while? Now, I already know the answer because I can see when they filed. They don't know that I know the answer. All right. So like I asked them a question about when they applied for probate. they're not going to go, our attorney's doing everything, because that wasn't the question that I asked. So that's a way that I can avoid the objection that I don't want to get. I kind of like to um, attack the objection that I think that they were going to give me. So let's say that everyone tells me I've got it all handled. I'll give my short little spiel, and then I'll say, "Can I ask you a question? Do you guys have everything handled at this moment, or is there anything that I could do for you?" And I'm attacking it because I know that they wanted to give it to me. So they're going to say, "Yes, yes." They might not say the word yes, but the tone is, "Yes, we have it handled." Okay. All of a sudden, it's not an objection anymore. It's a dialogue. It's now a back and forth. Same answer that they gave me. They give me the same answer they gave you, but for you, it's no, we have everything handled. For me, it's yes, we have everything handled. See the difference? All right. And now I get to say, perfect. Okay. I get to respond. Perfect. I'll tell you what. Let me send you a packet with some resources in it. I want you to do me a favor. Keep it. Use the resources as you go through probate. Some are going to be really helpful, some might not be, but I'm going to send this to you. And what I want you to do is give me a call if you ever need anything. Is that fair? So
Yeah,
anyone that's listening to me, how many of you would, if I said that to you, how many of you would say, "No, that's not fair. Don't send me that packet"? Okay. Almost nobody. I promise you someone on here would say no, but it's probably like 2 or 3%. So I'm turning the objection now into someone saying, "Yes, send me your resources." And we're having a conversation. So now I get to shift the topic toward real estate if I want, because we've got a dialogue going. They're giving me feedback on the questions I'm asking. They're taking the bait that I'm giving them. I'm making it really impossible for them to not say, "Yes, our attorney's handling everything," or "Yes, we have it all handled. Yes, we don't need anything right now." I'm giving them that the bait, and it's irresistible to them. They're like, "You mean you're giving me the chance to turn you down?" But I know where I'm going to go with it.
yeah,
I
Where'd you
think
go?
Melinda
Okay,
had some
Melinda just went back on mute.
Yeah,
there
I
she's good.
I've been taking notes, Bruce, whenever I've been on this class about things that you say, so that part, is there anything, at this time, can I take off your plate? That was something you said. I have a big poster board here I write notes on.
So remember, they're not going to say, "Yes, stranger,
Yeah,
you can help me with this list of things." If they do, great. The odds are not in your favor that they're going to go, "Yes, you can take things off of my plate." I still give them that option. Do you have everything handled? Or is there anything I can take off your plate? Because I'd love it if they said, "Yeah, I want some help. I need help with these things." But bottom line is, I'm a stranger on the phone. So
yep.
they're probably going to say, "Yes, I have it all handled," or "Yes, my attorney's taking care of anything." And if they give you the attorney objection, don't say, "Your attorney's not going to do everything for you," because all of a sudden you guys are combative. So, hey, perfect. I love that they're handling everything for you. I'll tell you what, let me send you a packet with just some resources. I want you to, if there's ever anything that your attorney's not doing, I want you to give me a call. Is that fair?
What's in your
Now,
packet? Are they the things that the marketing?
we've got ATL has letters, checklists. So take some of the letters that are
Yeah.
meant for cold letters
Oh,
and
okay.
make them warm. So
Got
instead of saying, "I wanted to introduce myself," you'll
Right.
change that to, "Hey, we talked on the phone." ATL has a probate checklist that came from me. I designed that. So I use checklist all the time, brochure,
Yep.
anything else that you can dream up that you might want to put in there that would be added value.
Terrific. Great tip.
Yep. Now, in a perfect world, I'd like you, if they have a house, I'd like you turning at least half of the people that you talk to into someone for your pipeline that you believe is going to sell a house and has agreed to get something from you. At least half. Okay. If you're getting less than half, work on your skill. but at least half of the people that answer the phone should agree to receive something from you and have a house that you believe they're going to sell. Now, if they tell you we haven't decided, we don't know yet, that's totally normal. It doesn't mean they're not going to sell. It just means that either they really don't know yet or they're just trying to put you off. And I'm fine with people putting me off. They're putting my competition off too. We don't know yet tells me they're going to sell a house. They just don't want to tell me yet, but I have permission to market to them. Okay.
That's a great question to have started us off with. And, everybody has the same concerns as Melinda. It's like, how long is this going to take? Hey, Bruce, when am I going to make money? How's this going to work? And, there's no snap your fingers answer. The answer is you've got to go through the process, and the last thing I would add about this, and this is kind of coming from, we picked this up from Keller Williams and Gary Keller. He always said 33 touches. It takes 33 times. Got to talk to people, touch them 33 times, whether it's a letter, a phone call, an email, a text, whatever it is. Well, there's no magic number. That is a number. And it's really the more you can do, the more opportunities there are. I'll add one other thought. If you watch TV, you know that there are advertisers that are on TV that are consistent, and you see them over and over. And no matter what market you're in, there's probably a PI attorney that's out there who is looking for your business. And remember back when you maybe first saw the commercial for that particular attorney, you didn't think anything of it. You didn't remember the name or anything else. It's an attorney. 3 or 4 times later, you begin to remember the name. Now it's indelibly etched in your mind, and you have an opinion about who that is and what they're doing. The same thing's true about you. The more often your name, your face, your business, and what you're about gets implanted in your potential customer's mind, the better off you're going to be. So consistency is important. Very, very important. Patty, you've been waiting patiently, and Michelle will get to you, and Alex as well. Thank you guys for having your hands up. Patty, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Had a great meeting with Steve Carney last Friday, so all of that information was really valuable to us. Also thanking you for having this call, because being new to everything, just everybody's input is really adding to the knowledge base that we're trying to set up. And I like Bruce's opinion about being consistent, and, over a 6-month period, we should maybe start to see things kind of come together. So we're at that point where we're just really trying to even get our own processes together. Jeff makes phone calls, I input data. So even just getting that locked down to being consistent, I think is key. My one question is, how critical do you think that first phone call is to be ourselves versus a VA? Like, how important do you think it is for us to really, in the probate world, to have that first initial phone call be ourselves? Because, we're all battling the time factor, limited time. So how valuable do you think it is just to not have maybe the VA do the call versus yourself?
Interesting question. That's a very interesting question. How many leads do you get every month, Patty?
We have a ton of leads. Time is our issue, right? Getting leads is not a problem. As we all know, there's many resources for leads. It's really, as we're establishing our processes, but knowing we're on this very limited time schedule, it's really, I think what Steve had put it is it's kind of quality versus quantity. Do you let VA weed out some of the calls and then we take the second call? But I guess my concern is, I know Jeff is great. He's a relationship builder. We've had a business with the handicapped accessible vans for years, and that's obviously relationship built. You're trying to help these families and getting to know the children that are involved, or we work with actually the children side of it. So you really get to know the families and what their needs are. So, Jeff is great at that type of relationship building. So, in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't really think a VA is going to do what Jeff's going to do on the phone call. So, but is it something that you think it's still maybe valuable to have a VA go through and weed out a little bit of that? Or is it just, do we figure out a way where, maybe Jeff does 10 calls a day or, whatever he can do? What do you think the value is with
Which
that?
which 10 out of the 100 that you have are you going to let him call? That's the problem,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
part of the problem.
Right.
That's why I said there's a quantity related issue.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Bruce would say the same thing, and I'll throw this open to everybody else. But I mean, the reality is, it's like how much can you afford to do, not just in money but in time. You got two
Right.
commodities there, and
Yeah.
if you are the best there is, and I would submit that you are the best there is in terms of presenting yourself, it's a matter of how much can you afford of your time to go do that. If
Yeah.
you've got 1,000 leads, the answer is you'll do nothing but be on the phone if you're ever going to get through them all. So
Right.
obviously, a VA would be recommended to do that to cut through it. But I mean, it's really a function of time and money. If you've got the time to make the calls, there's nobody better than you to do it. And we encourage you to make the calls. We want you to talk to them.
Yeah.
But the whole process of using a VA or a third party service to do it is to get through it at some point, to try to bring some people up that then you can spend the time and work your magic on to get with them.
Yeah.
Bruce, would you agree to that?
Yeah. So the thing is, everyone that asks questions about VAs, I kind of base my answer on why are you thinking about using a VA? So this is an answer for kind of everyone that's thinking about VA, ISA, cold caller. Are you doing it because you're lazy and you don't have any business? Well, don't be a lazy ass and get on the phone. Okay, learn the skill. Are you doing it because you have business and a lot of leads and you don't have the commodity of time? Put a caller on the phone and let them dig through your list and tell you who answered the phone and said they were the right person. Most people that use a VA fail because they're expecting their VA to turn over a quality, qualified, ready to sell seller. That does not normally happen when you're using a VA that does not have the level of skill that you guys have. So when I use a VA, until they prove to me that they're going to turn over ready to sell sellers that are the same quality that I can get on my own, their job is to tell me they answered the phone, it's the right number, this is the wrong number, never call it again, this person's mad, this person's happy, wrong, and then I'll follow up on that really refined list. I'll go so far with the VA as to say, if the person doesn't willingly bring up real estate, don't bring up real estate. Don't burn that bridge for me. I'll call and bring the real estate up. So it really depends on who's calling for you. But that's a great approach if you're time constraint and you have business. If you don't have business, find a way to get on the phone yourself.
Okay.
Jim, you were going to say something, bud?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Patty, I think you and Jeff have ISAs already. I think I've heard you say that, right? You have some in your business that you use or no?
Yeah, we use a VA currently for cold calls.
Okay. I was going to say it doesn't have to be either or. If you've got 1,000 leads, you don't have to have the VA call all of them or you call all of them. You could prioritize what you think are going to be the highest percentage, like maybe take the absentee owners or take the upscale properties or the ones you really want and call those yourself, get it down to a manageable number and have the VA call the others. So you could use a combo approach. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but I find a lot of people that use appointments today, they like, oh, I got 6 months worth of leads. Where do I start? I usually tell them prioritize, take the absentee owners first, maybe. They're going to have the highest conversion ratio probably
That's
in
a
most
really
markets.
good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. Just want to make sure that, that might be a good solution for you guys. You
might also, if depending on what you have, another criteria that you might use, assuming that you have property plus and you're working probate as opposed to one of the ones that may have property information in already. If you know where the properties are or property is, and it's an area that you want to work, sort them by the areas that you want to work and take your time to go at the highest opportunity targets that fit your marketing needs and try to get those. Jim's right about absentee owners. They usually provide great opportunity, but if there's a particular school district or a part of the town you live in that you want to focus on, and the leads are from there, then maybe those are the ones you want to call, and you let the VA service the others. But doing some sorting does make sense. And Jim's right. The other thing I would say is every month you need to be making some phone calls, regardless of what's going on, because it keeps you abreast of what's going on in your marketplace. If you stop making phone calls, you never make that first call, you're going to miss out on kind of, if something's shifting in the market and you're not talking to anybody, you're not going to know. And that makes you an uninformed agent and investor, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's critically important to do that. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Super. Michelle.
Yes, I'm here. How you doing?
I'm fine. And Alex will get to you in just a second.
All right. So I'm in Texas, Houston, Texas. My husband and I, we have a business, and I'm a real estate agent. So it starts with being a real estate agent. We added on doing estate sales so that I can meet more clients that way. Getting into estate sales, we found out a lot of people did not have trust and wills. So I also have my insurance license. Through that, we were able to add on a portal for trust and wills. So we kind of ahead of the probate. But one of the things that we do find is that individuals don't really have, like the resources or things to, be able to connect the dots to understand what probate is. I was going to speak before I ask my question to Patty. We use a text service. So we'll text out to just the list that we have ourselves, like a pain point about trust. And that prompts them to respond and get on our calendar. And that's been successful. So that may be something she can look into. But my question today is, when we signed up, we haven't gotten our list yet. It should drop any day. But my question is, we signed up for the late pays. And I almost feel like because of what we're already doing with trust and wills and estate sale and real estate, we really probably should have got that probate list. So we'll get that probably the next time that, we're able to sign up for it. But I think my question is, on the late payment list, how could we utilize that to kind of tackle some of the things that the areas that we specialize in?
Interesting question. Ask your question a little bit, flesh your question out just a little bit more.
Okay, so you have the probate list, those individuals with the judges and with the individuals who have they in probate. And so I'm just trying to see, we have not gotten the list yet. I guess I want more information about the late list. Basically, how will I be able to utilize that for, even what you're talking about today, for the probate and things of that nature? Or is it just to be a listing agent for these individuals who are late? So it seemed like that list probably would limit me, or what are your thoughts on that?
So I'll take the first shot, and then I'd like everybody else to comment. But the purpose behind the late list, as you referred to it, with us, you're getting it typically before there's an NOD. So it's early in the process. They know they've got a problem, and potentially, they want to put the house on the market, but also it's an opportunity for investors as well. Let me ask you, you say do you buy, or you just list?
I list, but I do have a team of investors.
Okay, great. Well, that's the right answer then, because the whole point there is that late mortgage, it can be a signal that there's a fuse been lit and they're going to get rid of that house. They're not going to be able to afford it. They're behind, and they're going to stay behind, and they're not going to make a payment. They're just going to wait until the boom falls. I'm not saying it's always the case, but it does happen. And of course, that's one of those signals. And in that case, you need to be ready to have potentially a buyer that you can, gently get in there. But you don't ever want to lead with that. And you don't want to lead talking to people, as you start this process. You don't want to call them up and say, "Hey, I see you're late on your mortgage." That's a bad way to start. So that's kind of the whole point, because they don't want people to know they're in that circumstance.
Mhm.
Probably not going to be happy that you know about that. So that's kind of a key element, about that. Bill, what kind of guidance do you have there?
So I think the late pays are a great opportunity to get deals quicker than probate. We'll call it that way.
Mhm.
But I also think if you have your arsenal of your buyers, your investors, your long-term hold investors, that it creates real opportunity to fill all your avenue there for that. The other thing is what Tim said is the statistic says when they get a payment down, the odds are they're not catching up. When they get two
Yeah.
payments down, it's almost not happening. So you need to have more of the consultant view
Yeah.
of just saying, how can I help you, right? Tim has a lot of great lines for that. So I just feel like the late pays are different animals. They're kind of more like a quick strike. And in my opinion, what I have learned with doing divorce is that probate has flown into divorce. It's just kind of some of the things I use in probate has flowed in there. And then I've done late pays forever, and they've all combined. The other thing I would really look at those late pays or those notices is reverse mortgages are great to find because people don't realize they're upside down, turns into a short sale for you if you want it to be.
Okay.
Do you have more questions or have we answered what you're looking for?
Oh, that's super. We did have a win though this week. I was on the call last week. That was my first call, and it was very insightful just to try to connect with probate attorneys. So unfortunately, my husband and I, we were in an accident, and we got connected with an attorney, and so they do P&P, they do personal injury, and they do probate as well. So we asked to set up a meeting with the probate attorney and, to share what we did. So we have a meeting set up with him. So that was a good win from last week. So thank you guys so much. That was great insight. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And that's an interesting practice. Somebody who's doing PI and probate, you got hurt
But
really bad and it didn't work out. I can help you.
yeah, well, it's two different attorneys. One do specifically personal injury, and the other one, I think they may be related. One do personal injury, the other one do the probate.
Right.
So, family practice. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Great to hear from you. Alex, you've been waiting patiently there, buddy. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. So I think somebody was talking about letters earlier. I'm not sure if I missed it or not, but the time span, right? Like I have my letters going out day 1, then day 45, and so on and so forth. What do you guys recommend, or what works best in your opinion?
Mail every day.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
What state are you in?
Every
Huh?
single day, twice a day.
I know, right? Imagine that.
What state are you in?
I'm in California, Bakersfield.
So I know everyone doesn't do it like I do, but man, I hit them basically 5 letters, brochure, and flyer, and I hit them.
How often? Like, what's the
7
gap
weeks,
between
man.
them?
7, 8 weeks.
Well, that's every 7, 8 weeks, one letter, or
No.
so,
Week 1 a letter, week 2 a letter, week 3 a letter, week 4 a letter, week 5 a letter, week 6 a letter.
okay, so every week.
Right.
Or
Or
7 or 8.
yeah, I mean that's way different than other people, but it has worked for me. And the other thing is people kind of move a little quicker in California, not all the time. Bakerfield's a little different.
Okay,
And then the other thing is, there's a lot of trust. So if there's a trust, they're pretty much ready to go, right? I mean,
they are.
it's much quicker than probate, that's for sure.
I mean, some of them, I just put a deal together. It took them about 6, 7 months to go to contract. I'm not put them together, but I just got them on the market yesterday. And we kept in touch, right? So I mean, I'm looking at my schedule. It was like day 0, day 25, day 50, and day 75, and day 90. So I'm like, do I leave that alone? Should I shorten it up a little bit, or I don't know?
Shorten it up.
shorten it up.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
here's the thing. Here's the reality. And I don't think I've ever said this on the call before, other than kind of being earlier facetious to you and, saying more every day. But here's the reality. The more you can put yourself out there, the more impressions you make, the more likely you're going to be at the right place at the right time. You've got it spaced too far apart. And I will say that.
Okay.
Sure, it's
So
too
give
far
me an
apart.
idea. What do you think would be, well, not the every week thing. I feel like that'd be a little too much for me, but what,
Fine, but let me finish my point, and then I'll come back and I'll ask you what you were going to say. So the reality is, I would submit to you that literally as much as you can afford to do and you have the appetite for, you're not going to hurt yourself by putting it out more frequently. And so it's kind of a function of what you can afford. Obviously, doing it every day, well, maybe that's not the right answer for you. But certainly, like Bill said, Bill's one of the most successful people that I know of in terms of what he does, and he's banging away at it really, really hard. And he's hitting it every week. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go do that, but what I would suggest to you is to try some additional, take an additional effort to this. In other words, take a flyer and pick a bunch of your leads. Maybe take 25 of your leads and dump them. I mean, literally put something on them every week. Don't necessarily do them all, but do a whole bunch of them and do enough of them to see what impact that had, and then look and see what your return on the investment is on those. In other words, take a chunk out of them and throw some extra dough at it and make it work. Don't spend all your money on it, but try it in your market to see if increasing your frequency helps. And I would submit to you that it will.
And I know well, I know Bakerfield's a little slower than the Bay Area as far as how it goes. But the thing I want to say is also there's HomeBot, or Bruce's uses Home IQ. I have found that to be great because it sends them market updates. It doesn't cost you much money. It puts your name at the bottom of it, your pick or whatever's on the bottom of it. I can't remember. But I find that people, when they hear my name, oh, you're the guy that sends HomeBot. So I find that as effective as my letters, assuming that they open the HomeBot.
It's just a matter of, this is to everybody, certainly not just to you, but to that question of frequency and all of that. If you've got 1,000 leads, then me sitting here telling you to go, spend, $2,000 or $3,000 to, really work really hard on them. You gotta feel good about doing it. I think it'd be great if you did that, and probably it would work well for you, but you've got to convince yourself. So take a smaller subset of it, so you're not making the huge financial investment in doing it, and do take a shot at it, doing it that way. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Let me jump on this real quick. So there's a couple of different things to keep in mind. Every consumer that you have has a different formula. Some people get mad when you call them. Some people just want to be texted. Some people want to be called. Some people want to open something in the mail. Some people want to go check you out on YouTube. You don't know what the formula is for each individual person. So there needs to be a little bit of everything. 1 second, guys. I got a dog falling down the steps, I think. Hold on. Okay, I think we're good. All right. You guys forgive me. My dog's got some DM, and she doesn't walk so well, and I just heard tumbling down the stairs. I think everything's okay. So the idea here is that your consumer, your prospect, thinks that much of you. Probably not that much if they've never even heard your name before. So your objective in the 6 months that it takes the average person going through probate to put their house on the market and sell. And that's just sort of the average. Some people a year, some people a week. Your objective is to climb to number 1. We do that with call, mail. Hopefully they're finding us online on our website or a YouTube channel or blog or something like that as well. But it's essentially to climb that ladder. The couple of different ways that I do and have done it. I've started with mail right up front, and I've done a monthly mailer for 6 months. So spaced 4 or 5 weeks apart. 5 weeks is starting to get a little bit long. They're starting to forget that last piece they got from you, but 4 or 5 weeks apart. And then somewhere in the middle, I'll drop a sprint. So what Bill referred to was what I would call a sprint, weekly for 7 or 8 weeks. Somewhere during my monthly campaign, I'm going to go letter, postcard, letter, postcard, letter, postcard in a really tight, confined period of time when I think that the average person has gotten through enough of the process to think about real estate. So maybe month 2, month 3, I'm going to go 2 or 3 pieces like packed together. And the beautiful thing with that is, if you're going to do that in your 6-month campaign, by the time you get to that point, you will have whittled your list way down. So let's just pretend that you start with 100 people. Well, you're going to be on the phone as well. You're going to be having conversations. You're going to be scrubbing people out. I found out they already sold. I found out they're not selling. I found out that the address is bad. So by the time you hit that sprint, your list in theory might be down to 30 or 40 people. So you're not going weekly on 100 people. You're going weekly on 30 to 40 by the time you get to that space in your campaign. Another thing that I've done in the past is I've spent the first month calling, and then I only mail to the people that didn't answer the phone during the first month, which for me is about half of my total list size. So then I can be more aggressive with that half. I can be more frequent. So all these things are options for you. Everyone always asks, what is the perfect thing that works? And there's no perfect thing that works. You pick a direction and you go with it. And if something isn't working, you tweak. But in the beginning, you just kind of pick one of the directions and say, hey, I'm going to go with it. I love Tim's idea. I've never thought about doing that. I've never thought about chunking down a piece of my list and being aggressive with them and more passive with the others. I really like that idea. And if I was doing that, I'd do out of state PRs.
Right. And I think, the other last part of this I would say is, and Cam, we're going to get to you in a second. Jim, you as well. The last thing I would just add to that is that, always test, always tweak, always, if you've got it going right and you feel good about it. Steve, I saw your hand. I'll get to you in a second, but always test, always be testing. If you have something that's working, that's great. Test something else as well. Even though you think you got it dialed in and that's good, like Bruce said, there's no easy answer and it moves. That target moves all the time. So you've got to constantly be manipulating what you're doing. If mail's working for you, that's great. If calling is working, that's great. But they all work. You've just got to find the right mix for yourself. Jim, what were you going to say, bud?
Yeah, real quick, and it's a perfect follow-up to what you said, Bruce. In my own experience, when I was flipping properties on a regular basis, my favorite leads were 12 to 18 months. And I can't tell you how many people said, a year ago we weren't ready. You're the only one that's contacted me in the last 6 months. So if you're going to set up an automated, if we're doing it or you're doing it yourself, mail like crazy in the beginning. But then, like Bruce said, if you're working them after 6, 9, 12 months, you're not going to have that many left. Set up an auto campaign. Anything that's left after a year, automatically send them a letter so you don't even have to think about it. And I'd do 18 months also. You'd be surprised by that point, you've got zero competition and your conversion rate is going to be tremendous on those long-term ones. So make it automatic so you don't have to think about it.
And I would say, don't ever give up on any of them unless they tell you they don't want to call you anymore, or they've moved and you're getting the letters back or the postcards or your emails are bouncing. Don't get rid of any of them. That's my opinion.
You want to be that person that when you do finally get them on the phone, they go, "Oh man, you're that guy that's been sending me all that mail." Well, yeah, now you're memorable. Now they know who you are. And it's that kind of stuff. Steve, you had your hand up, bud.
Right. So one of the things, I know Bruce talks about this too, in terms of finding whatever the right mix is. There's a lot of trial and error that comes with it. You got to test it to see where it is. The last thing you want to do is think that, hey, I have this one way, it's the only way, or I have to be perfect in my way. You don't. You need to control your efforts, because outcome You can't predict. But what you can get from outcome is if you don't make the efforts, if you don't take the action today for your future self in 5, 6 months, then you're likely not going to have that. That's going to be, you're consistent. So your approach has got to be consistent. You got to make the calls, and yes, you got to be willing to pivot. That's all it is. And I'm quick to point out that, look, with 3,100 counties, what works in one may not work in another. And how many times you mail, you don't mail, you call, or people call before their mail goes out. I know Bruce likes to scrub his list before he makes calls, before the mailings go out. I like having my mailings go out, and then I can refer to them as a warm call. I know there's some folks I talk to, they're just dial the phone, let me call, and they're not sending any mail. And yet people are showing that they're successful. So it's a matter of sticking to it and knowing that you're playing a long game here. It's not something that's going to happen quickly. And
Wise words, my friend. Wise words. Cam,
Absolutely true. I'm
It's-
totally backing what Steve said. That's 100%. You got to make the calls. You got to do some type of prospecting. But I'm sorry, just to kind of go left. So I just was my bad. I was prospecting a little earlier today, and I came across somebody who needed an attorney in CT. I ended up finding them that, but then just me and this guy had a good rapport. He's an attorney in CT, New Jersey, and New York. And we're just talking, and I tell him what I do, and he's like, "Oh, is there anybody that does what you do in my area?" So I was like, "All right, well, let me just reach out to my network." And he's like, "The crazy part is his mom clean outs and all that stuff, or kind of the thing we do." So I didn't know if there's anybody. He said in New York, New Jersey, and I guess I'm kind of handling Connecticut because I'm in Mass, so I can kind of facilitate that to a point. But if there's anybody in New Jersey and New York that would like an attorney to work with, it's a warm attorney, so that's like the best thing you can get. Yeah, reach out to me if you can, and I'll connect you to the attorney.
Very good, bud. Well, thank you very much for that offer. That's kind, and we'll see what we can do to work through that a little bit. I think the other thing, as far as the attorneys are concerned, say what we always say: look at your leads, go in and sort them, particularly in probate. Sort them and find the ones that have attorneys showing. Find the attorneys that are doing the most probates. You'll find attorneys that are doing more than one of your leads in a month. And if you find an attorney that's working 4 or 5 of them, try to start finding a way to get in front of them. We won't talk about prospecting attorneys right now. Maybe we'll save that for another week. And I think that might be a great topic for us to take a whole meeting about. I think we'll put that on our calendar going forward. But I fear right now we have reached the end of our road here today. This went really quickly. I apologize for my problems in the beginning, trying to be a technidiot. I proved I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. And Jim would agree that I never do, so it works out well. Sorry, I had to take it away from you, bud. Take us home, Jimmy.
All right. I started out by calling you guys our appreciated realtors and investors, but very much appreciate everybody who showed up today. Great participation. One of our best participation calls with people raising their hands in a long time, I think. So appreciate all of you for being here. Particularly appreciate Bill, Melinda, Bruce, Patty, Michelle, Alex, Cam, and Melissa for actively participating. I want to challenge each of you, take one idea that inspires, and Steve. Okay, Steve's shaking his head. Don't be different, Steve.
We love you, Steve. We love you.
We love you, Steve. I saw him crying, shedding tears there. Take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
And we still appreciate you, Steve, even after we're
Yeah,
done.
we love you, Steve. Goodbye.